album. There's probably, did you have 9?
I didn't have hair. I didn't have hair. No, you're a little later than me, because I also inherited a lot of my mother's favorites.
Is that My Fair Lady and Camelot?
My Fair Lady. Yes, my mother, not a fan of Camelot, really, but yes, we had Camelot. She always says, if Mozart hadn't died, he could have made that a good show. But he died in the middle. Yes, My Fair Lady, definitely. Promises. You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Big one for me. Wonderful Town, South Pacific. But almost the most important one, Annie, Get Your Gun. Annie, Get Your Gun is sort of that. Promises, and Charlie Brown are kind of the
soundtrack of your childhood when you think about. So, do you have pre-show rituals?
No.
Do you have any superstitions?
I mean, I have to say, I used to have stage fright like at the very first preview, and then I'd be fine.
Right.
But as I've gotten older, like in my in my 40s, I got more stage frighty. And so one of the things that I can't bear now, and I think I would be better, well, it's getting better, but one of the things I can't bear is to stand off stage and wait.
Oof.
I hate that. And it's not anything, it's pure animal fear. There's not anything I'm literally afraid of. I'm just terrified, and I have a hard time holding my ground and not bolting. Right?
So
what I do, like when I was doing Wit, when I was 47 or 8, 7, I can't remember. They were really great about that. And even without my having to really say it to them, the stage managers were very intuitive about it. And I had to basically come downstairs in my shaved head and my baseball cap and my little horrible hospital gown, and they had to quickly attach me to an IV pole. However they did that, I don't even remember now.
Oh, they really did. They really put the needle in your arm.
They would puncture
every night. Method.
But what they would do is they would have it really, they wouldn't call me until they were actually literally ready to go.
So you were not at Places 10 minutes before.
So I kind of I kind of came backstage, they hooked me up, and I barely slowed down. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I would wait for 20 seconds, but
that was not true earlier in your career.
Not at all. And I remember one time, I don't know. I remember one time when I did my very first Broadway show when I was 14, Blythe Danner was the leading lady, and I just worshipped her.
The Philadelphia
story, right. And I was on at the very top of the show, Blythe and I and Meg Mundy, who was playing our mother. We were sibling sisters. And we arrived at Places, and it was 8 o'clock, and the house was strangely all in place. And so the stage manager was like, okay, we're going up. It's 8 o'clock, and we're going up. Now, no show on Broadway. I mean, no show goes up at 8 o'clock.
No.
Every show goes up at 8:05. Yeah, And Blythe Danner was so hilarious. She was like, there is no show in New York that goes up at 8 o'clock. I am going back to my room. Please call me at 8:05.
That's right.
It was just hilarious.
Oh my God, there's so many things I want to say. First of all, well, we can talk about auditioning in a minute. I'm sure you probably.
I still audition.
Do you?
Of course, I still audition.
Not for theater.
I auditioned for a casting director the other day, honey.
Well,
they put me on tape.
Listen to me.
She was like, hey, you're good.
I am now going to be your agent. I'm sorry, because there's not a lot I'm sure
No, the director wasn't in New York, and
Right.
I hate putting myself on tape. I hate it.
Right.
So I would rather
go in a room and have a casting director do it.
give me feedback and film me, and I don't have to,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I can't imagine that that's true in the theater. I imagine at this point you've done enough roles that you wouldn't have to read. I don't have to. I don't
built
have around you.
Right.
Now.
I don't have to read for things in the theater, although I did some years ago, and I think this would still be the case, like I can't really sing, but I have had a couple of musical auditions because no one would ever cast me in a musical without hearing me sing.
In
And
Ballyhoo.
actually, after having sung, no one has cast me in a musical after having heard me sing.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't think that should be true. First of all, I've seen you sing in a benefit
Yeah, no, you don't. If you have a show, you don't want me singing in that show.
I remember in The Last Night of Ballyhoo, the Alfred Ury play that I replaced you in, there was a little bit of singing at the top of the show. Lala Levy is, the show opens and she's decorating the Christmas tree.
Should she sing a Christmas carol?
Yes,
I can't even remember.
I believe, and this is one of the only times I went up on stage. And forgive me, I may be misremembering the carol because the Levines did not sing many of them. So I don't have like a whole bevy of them in my mind.
Right.
But I believe the lyric was fa la 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 la. And I went up.
Wow.
I was like, the only time I've gone up on stage.
And did you just go like, I had a little
dreidel, Hanukkah, Hanukkah. But I thought this is a very scary moment. And there's the story of the understudy who they're like, you're on. And she's like, okay. And literally they go back to the dressing room and the window is open and she's gone out of the window and back to Idaho and never been heard from again. So you were saying that you do still audition.
I do.
Do you have thoughts about auditioning?
Advice
about auditioning?
I have a lot of thoughts about auditioning.
Tell me what comes to mind.
Well, I guess...
Do you enjoy it?
I really do enjoy it. I don't enjoy it all the time. This one for the casting director, I really did not have a great time at that one.
Okay. Was there singing? No,
involved? There was just a lot of comedy.
All right. Comedy is hard.
Comedy. But I do like auditioning. And I have to say, I do have a lot of opinions about it. 3 things, I guess. One is that your audition is only, unless you're Superwoman, your audition is only as good as the people in the room. Like, you can't go into a horrible room of bored, closed down bureaucrats disguised as directors and casting directors and producers who have no receptiveness about them and try and break through that. It's almost impossible. You're only as good as the person you're dancing with. So if you have one of those experiences, just do your best to remember it's not you. It's like you had a bad sexual experience. You know how you are in bed. You're not bad in bed. It wasn't you, honey.
Right.
So let yourself off the hook if you have an experience like that. But also do your best to be prepared, but to then be in the moment. Because the thing that a director is looking for, they're looking for someone who's right for the part, first of all. That's vaguely the right age, that's vaguely the right temperament, that would go well with the other people that they have already cast and are planning on casting. But also they're looking at someone who can respond to direction. So it's like if you walk in there and you all alone do your A-, and then they give you direction and you do the exact same A-, you probably won't do as well as someone who goes in there with a B- and then takes an adjustment and then goes up to an A-, because you think like, I can have an effect on this person and this person will hear me.
Right.
And the other thing I want to say is the hard thing about an audition is we care so much and we feel like, particularly if, we don't have a lot of them, which most of us, we don't have a lot of them. And the older we get, if we're women, we get less and less of them. So we feel like we have to make it count.
Right.
The thing about it is it's so uninteresting to watch someone come into a room and be nervous.
Do you still get nervous?
I do still get nervous. I just try and do the work, but I also try and I try and remember that I would really probably like this job that I'm auditioning for, but they would also really like to find someone.
You have the film James White, which just came out, which is a really powerful film about a mother-son relationship. The son is sort of a reckless New York character. The mother is a slightly bohemian woman who is dying of cancer, which was a very powerful thing for me to watch since your own mother had very recently, before you started shooting this, died of cancer. It was a very powerful performance. I felt really blown away by how committed you were to the role, how ravaged you were by the illness in the film, and how without vanity you approached this character. And it was kind of a stunning juxtaposition as I watched it and thought of you as Miranda Hobbs in Sex and the City, and what a huge departure it was as a character.
there's so much I have in common with that character. And there's so much my mother has in common with that character. That it really did feel like a second skin. I felt so comfortable. And the way the environment on set was also very, but I think that, it's interesting you use the word vanity, because I actually think that maybe of a lot of the people that I've played, the women that I've played, I think for me, Gail's vanity was I was a little more in touch with it than I was with other characters. I feel like Miranda, first of all, she's young. She didn't seem young when I was playing it, but she's young. She looks great, whatever. And she has all these clothes. But I also feel like, in a way, Miranda doesn't actually have any interest in clothing or jewelry or makeup. But the thing about Gail was she was dying young. She was single. She was feeling, I think, very bereft, not to have a lover, not to have a husband, feeling like her son in some way was like her husband-lover substitute in her boyfriend, in a way that she knew was inappropriate, but she didn't know what else. She was desperate.
Right.
And I think her loss of her own femininity, do you know what I mean? I think she was really, putting on wigs because she'd lost her hair
and wore beautiful jewelry,
and and her even her clothing. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't in any way obviously Sex and the City couture.
That movie really touched me, James White, also because I'm terrified of dying.
Yes,
I think about it all the time.
Me too. Yeah.
And I remember at your mom's funeral, her boyfriend talking about with such clarity and certainty, because I could not believe what I was hearing and how beautiful it was, which was someone who had complete certainty that although this moment in their relationship of these two people on this planet had ended, he had no doubt that they would have other lives together and come together in other ways, that they had been together before and that they would be together again.
Right.
I yearn for that desperately in my life, to really make peace with whatever comes next.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a kind of experience like that?
No, but my mother saw a couple of people, and one of them was, I don't know if they were looking at her hand or card, something, and they were telling her things, that all of these things that the woman was telling her seemed totally on mark, like amazingly so. And then the person said, and then at this point you had an affair. This is when she was married to my dad. And my mom was like, no. And the woman kept saying, yeah, you had an affair like around this point, and she kept saying, and finally, and the woman was so adamant. And my mother thought if she was more of a fake, she would get off this, because I've told her over and over again, and the woman was like, okay. And then she went on and she told her more stuff. And then the woman back, she said, oh, or you could have had a child. Did you have a child? And my mom said, oh, yeah. Oh, she said, oh, that's what it is. Sometimes a child can look like a love affair.
Wow.
So in some ways, I was the affair, right, that got my mom out of her bad marriage.
That is what having children is, in a way. Before we go, when is A Quiet Passion, the Emily Dickinson film,
A Quiet Passion,
coming out?
The Emily Dickinson movie, it premiered in Berlin, whenever that was, I guess in February, maybe.
So you did the movie in German.
We
Imagine if you just did it whatever language. It's going to be, oh, okay. We're going to Berlin, everybody.
But Greta Garbo did that, and Marlene Dietrich too. They would do an English language version and a German version at the same time on two different sets. That's now gotten into Toronto, so it'll be in the Toronto Film Festival, but also they're thinking maybe it's going to be in the New York Film Festival, so we're waiting to hear on that.
I can't wait to see it. That's very
exciting.
exciting.
And the Adderall Diaries is coming out, which is a small part, but
And what is, before we go, is there a play on the horizon?
There is not a play on the horizon. I'm looking for something to direct. I'm reading some things. I'm connected to this movie called The Evening Hour, and I'm actually connected to a film called, it's either going to be called Columbia or Columbia, Missouri. They don't know yet. And it's a tremendous, I'm very excited about it. It's Dennis O'Hare, the actor, has written it.
Nice.
And he's also in it. And he and Amy Ryan and I play a brother and two sisters, Brian Dennehy is our dad. Paul Giamatti is our brother-in-law. And it is actually a story, a true story, about his sister's suicide in 2010. And Anna Paquin is playing his sister, and she's also producing it. And